Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Outsourcing Uncovered, Boost Your Firm's Growth with Global Talent. My name is Joel from the Earmark team. If you have any questions or comments, please use the comment section and I'll be monitoring that. With that, I will turn it over to today's host, Augustine.
Great. Thank you very much, Joel. And thank you very much for the Earmarks team for inviting us to this webinar. A brief introduction before we start. So the objective of the webinar is for everyone that attended to be able to take the necessary tools to know what, where, and when to go and hire international talent, to find those A players that are out there, right? So that's my objective today. And we try to cover all the questions that may arise in this process, right? So before starting, a bit of who we are. Vinti is an employee as a service company. What we do is we help our clients build their offshore team in South America. And we focus mainly in accounting, finance, and legal talent, right? We just do that. All our team are specialists in finding this type of talent. And on my side, I have built international teams for the last 10 years, helping startups and companies put together their team in South America. Now let's go to it. So the agenda for today, I will start giving an overview, a general context about the talent landscape, things that I think everyone knows, but it's good to set the context of why we are doing this and the options that are out there. Then we will deep dive in giving an overview of international outsourcing or hiring international talent, right? What kind of talent, where we can go and hire, the different models, when is a good time to hire talent. And finally, and at the end, we will deep dive a bit in terms of some recommendations that we think are useful when engaging with a company like ours, right? These are perhaps some questions that we will give you so you can ask your different vendors, or things that you are not that intuitive to think about it, and we think are important to clarify when engaging with a company like ours. So the US talent landscape, right? How is the situation out there? So in our experience, what we see and what we read out there is that there is a sort of a shortage in terms of availability of accounting talent, right? What we see is that there is 4% less accounting graduates than in 2020. People or students are shifting to IT careers. What we see is also that in the last decade, 26% less accountants graduate from school. And what is more, it's a bit contradictory here, is that while there are lots of less people studying this career or less availability of accounting talent, on the other hand, there is more demand. Not only because there is less offer, but there is more people wanting accountants, because obviously it's a profession that is really needed for every business and for every person. So this generates like a bandwidth where with the supply and with the demand, and we need to cover that, right? So there are several things, several ways of tackling this problem. Hiring internationally is one of them, right? And we will deep dive in this one today. But before, how is this shortage impacting our companies, our firms, our startups, right? So what we see is that there are two things that are like in the mouth of everyone. That is, there is a lot of competition for talent. I imagine that you can see this while going out and trying to find good talent out there, because people are having several offers. When an accountant is finding for a job, they may be in several processes, and this is pretty normal. But because of the competition is being so huge, because of the demand of this kind of talent, this leads to a rise in salaries, and this makes the competition a bit fierce, right? But which are the underlying assets that we don't see on the day-to-day, right? So competing for talent, going out there and trying to find someone good, I mean, it may be challenging, but what are the consequences of this, of not finding the talent on time, of taking a lot of time to onboard someone or to find someone that suits our needs and that fits our culture, right? So what we see is that the times of recruiting are getting higher and higher every year, and it's getting difficult and difficult. But what does this mean? It means that while it takes a lot of time to cover a position, the actual employees of our companies are starting to get a lot of extra workload, right? This leads to people getting overwhelmed and to wanted to quit their jobs because they can handle a bit of extra work for a period of time. Obviously, this is a profession that has a lot of seasonality with tax season and everything. But when things start to be the norm, we see that people start wanting to quit. And that leads to high turnover rates with our teams, right? This is a direct consequence of increasing HR costs. Because here we have several things. It's while we take more time, we have to allocate more resources, and it's most costly for us to find talent, right? And because of this, we lose focus on our clients, on our business, because obviously we need to feed with talent our companies. But this takes us the focus on growing our company, on the focus on our clients, and at the end, that leads to less revenue, less margins. Right. And what I wanted to show you is that there is a direct correlation between this accounting shortage and fighting and competing for talent with losing margins, losing growth, and losing business with our companies. Right. So how do we solve this? Which are the options are there? So as I mentioned, there are several options now with the rise of AI. Lots of tools are coming out, but hiring good people, A players, it's also going to be a winning strategy, right? And what I'm going to show you today is that hiring offshore talent, it's a great strategy. And these are some reasons, right? I want to analyze this for different perspectives, but let's look at it firstly in terms of the costs. If we want to hire someone internally, we have to pay the salary, which is really expensive compared to hiring international talent. We have to pay taxes, overhead, other expenses, delivering a computer, buying equipment, everything. Well, if we compare to hiring someone internationally with a specific company that can help us with that, we can reduce a lot of this noise, especially in terms of cost, because just because of the economical situation of the countries where we find talent, the US dollar cost is much less. So we can save like 50% in terms of salaries, right? But also there is the other perspective, the time that we allocate to these processes. If we do it out in-house, we have to search in LinkedIn, go to schools, move ourselves a lot, do several interviews, like private candidates ourselves. If we do this with a company, it's much easier because at the end, they will present us with 3-4 suitable candidates and I can interview them, and it's going to save me a lot of time and a lot of headaches because they are trained to do this. And we are going to deep dive in that part again. Then the time to hire, right? because doing all this process, the interview process, takes not only like time in terms of time that I have to allocate as a manager, but also it takes time like months, right? So if I need to cover a position in 2 weeks or 1 month, I mean, if I do it myself, it's going to take a lot more time, right? While if I outsource with a company, it's going to be easier because they are going to have already standard processes. They already have contacts. They already have candidates that they have prevetted. So processes are much faster. And the last one that I want to mention, which I think it's really important, is the replacement. What happens if I need to replace a candidate? What happens if I hired wrongly, right? If I make a mistake or if I lose someone because they go to another job or whatever, I have to start all over the process again. While if I do it with a company and I outsource that position and I hire this candidate internationally, the company that already provided that candidate has already the profile that I need and they know my needs, right? So the replacement of the candidate is much faster. That saves us a lot of money, right? So these are a couple of reasons, right? So now I'm gonna speak about other benefits, right? But let's start with the benefits of hiring internationally, and then we will deep dive in the general overview, right? So I see that there are 6 big benefits of hiring international talent. The first one is there is as I mentioned, there is a cost efficiency strategy here, because we will save not only in salaries, which are like half of a US equivalent, but also in terms of providing a computer, giving an office, overheads, taxes, whatever. It's much more efficient to outsource these people, right? Then we have an enormous global talent network. So we open ourselves to more possibilities. There is great talent out there, super capable, aligned with US culture. So the chances of finding an A player are bigger, right? Then we can set 24/7 operations. If we hire people like in India or the Philippines, there is a great opportunity for us to set operations internationally and serve our clients in a better way 24/7. Because we never know when our clients they will have a question. But imagine that you can offer your clients for them to send you an email and be responsive at 3 a.m. This is a great advantage. Or imagine yourself preparing all the information during the day, send that to your outsourced accountants or your outsourced bookkeeper, and then 7 a.m. in the morning, you have everything ready. That's also a great advantage because you are more efficient working at night. Then delegation. You delegate lots of things that will take you time, like hiring, like managing, like sending, I don't know, logistics, offices. Delegating these things that takes focus of a manager on what they really need to do, it's really a big advantage. Then the flexibility. For me, this is a great point because at the end, it's very easy when working with one of these companies in terms of how to manage the candidates. I can be flexible. Tax season is coming. I need 10 people to process information. It's just a phone call with my vendor and increasing my manpower of my company, right? This kind of flexibility gives us a lot of options, right? To handle seasonality and things that are very important for our profession. And the last one, which is cultural diversity. There are several papers, search out there that show that when we have a team that is cultural, that has a lot of cultural diversity, they perform better because it's a rich team in terms of experiences. So this is another advantage of having people overseas and immersed in the culture of the company, right? So this is a couple of benefits that we see that there is when we hire international talent. Then let's dig in a bit on where we can go and find talent and the differences between the different areas. Like we are gonna organize this in terms of 2 concepts: nearshoring versus offshoring. In a way, South America compared to Asia, like the Philippines, India. We can also discuss about South Africa, but we can put that on the offshoring map. So generally, there are several advantages and disadvantages in both of us. We are going to deep dive in the next slide. But what we see is that nearshoring or South American talent, they can support all types of operations. We can support like hands-on positions, like people that are aligned in our same time zone, help us because we can work together. We can work as teammates, right? And they will be aligned with our clients, so they can serve and they can have client-facing positions, right? While on the other side, in like countries India and Philippines, they can support bigger scale operations. So what we see in India is there are big companies with big offices that you can have like more of a staffing style of outsourcing, where you can say, hey, I need 10 people for tomorrow, and they will allocate that, right? They can work overnight. They can process a lot of information during the night, and you can have everything clean by the morning. This is great, right? This is good for positions that are not client facing or that are like low hierarchy positions. But now let's dig in a bit on the differences between each area, right? So for example, let's say offshore of Asia. Like this is the classical place that when we think about offshore, we say, hey, India or the Philippines. That's the legacy player. That's where the big companies have their shared services, right? And South America is emerging as a new power here, like because of exchange rates, economical situation of the countries. There is a big possibility of a lot of talent that are trained in US culture and in US GAAP, for example, to be able to work for US companies. in terms of pricing, what we see is that when you outsource and when you hire people in Asia, it's a bit less expensive, right? It's a bit, you can save more money in a way. So it's 50, 60% the cost savings that you can have. While when you do it in South America, it's a bit more expensive. The difference is not that much. This is an average, but this is what you can expect, right? Then in terms of US business culture, what we see is that people that come from South America generally have experience working with US companies since they started their career. For example, I know myself, I started working for AT&T. And I remember my team was all in the US. And I'm used to, since I started my career, working with a US company with my US colleagues, right? So the culture there, the business culture in South America is very aligned with the US, right? Then the time difference. I think this is a pretty clear difference, right? One is aligned with the US or plus 90% alignment. South America, depending on the country, could be in one extreme you have Colombia, in the other extreme you have Argentina, but they have a lot of overlap with most of the US, right? And on the other hand, you have Asia, where you have plus 12 hours, right? Here, this is a big difference in terms of what do you want. This is not that it's good or worse, right? Depending on what you are looking for, one may be better than the other one, right? And then hiring timelines in countries like the Philippines or India, by law, when you want to hire someone that is working for another company, you may have like a pre-notice period of 60 days. So this may be a bit complicated when you want someone to hire quickly. In South America, there is no legal limit, but the business as usual is 14 days, right? So this is a bit in terms of comparison of the geographies. Then, how to outsource talent, right? So which are the different models that are out there, the different companies that are out there, right? So firstly, we have two options. Either we go to the traditional recruiting with a company that they will help us find someone, they will charge us one, and that's it. And I will hire the person under my payroll. And then the staff management, right? So companies like employer of record, employee as a service, staffing, that they will handle the contract, they will handle the payment to the candidate, and the candidate will work for me, right? So the situation here is that depending on what you need, one model could be better or the other, right? But now I'm going to focus in the staff management style, right? So we have several models here, like PEO, which is professional employment organization, EOR, which is employer of record, and then the classical staff augmentation or staffing agency, right? And we added a last one, which is employee as a service, which is what we are doing at Vinti, right? So what is the PEO, professional employment organization? Well, we see this is an entity that what they do is they help you find the candidate, and then they will help you hire the candidate. So you will have to hire the candidate under your entity, but they will manage the candidate, right? So the drawback of this is that you have to have a local entity where the candidate is from. So let's say the PEO is in Colombia, you will have an entity in Colombia because you will have to hire that person under your entity, right? So the PEO will manage then the candidate. And then we have the employer of record, right? This is the logic here is that this company is going to help you find the talent and is going to hire the talent on your behalf. And the candidate is going to work for you, or the candidate is going to be managed by the employer of record, depending on the company and on the contract that you have, right? But the good thing about this is that you don't have to have an entity in all the countries where you're hiring people. They will have the entity and they will hire, right? Then the staffing model, which is the difference with this logic, is that the staffing model generally works with more junior positions and with logic of short-term contracts. What I was mentioning before, like I need people for tax season to process a lot of information or to give a better service to my clients. I can go to a staff augmentation company and they will help me cover that, right? Generally, these people hire the people. I just pay the company and they process the information. It's similar like a BPO, but they can also staff people to my company. But at the end, they are going to be employers of the staffing agency, right? I will have to teach them the processes, explain everything, and that's it. And then there is the employee as a service. At Vinti, we are an employee as a service, which is very similar to the employer of record. But the difference here is that generally employees as service companies, they cover for everything. What this means? This, for example, at Vinti, what we do is we want to take care of everything that is non-business related for our clients. So we hire the person under our payroll. Our clients will choose the candidate. They will make the interviews, right? We will hire them under our payroll, but the candidate is going to work directly as a full-time employee for our clients, right? And we will support the candidate with a computer, with an internet connection, and with all the things that the candidate needs to perform their work perfect for our clients. But the candidate is going to work as a full-time employee. So the difference is that here, someone that is from outside or another employer of our clients, they won't notice the difference. They will think it's a normal employee. So what we do is we take the employee as a service takes everything, all the things that our clients do not want to do. Sending a computer, let's say you hire someone in Argentina. How do I send a laptop to Argentina? So these companies make sure that everything is covered and you don't have to think about anything else than working and delivering a good work for our clients, right? At Vinti, we do that, right? And just as a comment, everyone that has come to this webinar, they have a 40% discount for the first 3 months in our services, right? But let's continue with the presentation. So another difference here, which is very important, is the type of company that we have. In a way, there are two styles, right? So there are several styles. We have like nearshoring, offshoring. And now we have between those, we have some ones that are niche and some ones that are general, right? So a niche is someone that is doing like only accounting talent or only marketing talent or just a specific area. And general are people that are companies that they will provide you with whatever you need, right? In terms of the pros and cons here, for when we are working with a niche company, someone is doing just accounting talent, this has several advantages in terms of the time to hire tends to be faster, right? Mainly because these people already know how to interview, how to prevent, and they already are searching for good talent, and they know how to recognize them quickly, right? So they do, because of they do targeting scouting, they exactly understand what are the profiles that they need, right? They have high industry expertise. So for example, let's say that you want an accountant with QuickBooks experience, and US GAAP, obviously, right? So generally, recruiters that work for these companies, they understand perfectly how to evaluate if a candidate has experience in QuickBooks or not, or in Xero, or in SAP, or in NetSuite, or whatever system we are using. They know how to evaluate the difference between the country gap and US gap, and they can ask those differences to understand if that person knows US gap or not. So these things are very important because at the end, that person is going to end up working for us. The cons of this is like there is sort of a limitation if I, as a client, need to hire, let's say, a marketing analyst. If I go to someone that is specifically that they do only finance recruiting, and I ask them for a business development, they will do the search because at the end is recruiting, but they won't have this speciality and they won't know the special things that they need to do. And this can lead to either bad hiring or more time in terms of dealing with this. And another drawback is that if you have one niche service vendor, you will have to have several vendors because if I have one for accounting, one for finance, one for marketing, etc. So depends a lot on what style you want to manage. On the other hand, we have the general companies. These are companies that they will serve and they will provide any type of talent, right? So the good thing is I can ask them an accountant, a marketing manager, and a sales analyst. This is very good because I can hire whatever I need, right? And the drawback is that perhaps these people are interviewing several positions at the same time in terms of several areas at the same time. So it's more challenging for them to be able to evaluate the things that experience gives you, like understanding the difference with US GAAP and IFRS, right? So these are things that are important when evaluating international talent. So this is about the two styles of companies out there, right? And something important is this that does not depend on the region. So we can have someone in South America that is general and someone in South America that is niche. So this depends a lot on the type of company. But these are things that we need to think, what do we want before we engage with this type of companies. So let's go and think about what kind of talent we can find, right? So I'm going to focus in finance and accounting first because that's what I do, and second because this is the audience. So I'm going to do it the other way around. So generally we can find any type of talent, but there are two profiles that are a bit challenging when trying to find people internationally, right? And the two profiles is, the first one is, I have several clients that come and tell me, hey, Agustin, I need a CPA. And the first question I do is, do you need this to be a CPA of a local country or a CPA of the US? If they answer the US, it's very difficult to find someone with a CPA certification of any state living abroad and wanting to work for the US. I mean, that's a super difficult profile. If you find someone that can do that, I would challenge it because it's a very difficult profile to find. And the second profile that is difficult, and this is because of the context of the different regions, is to find people that have experience in individual tax. Why? Because generally the experience that the international talent brings is experience that they have gathered working for US companies, right? And generally US companies, they don't do individual tax, right? Obviously they do because there are CPAs that do, but at the end, we are hiring people in shared services and big companies, and these big companies generally don't do individual tax. And that finding people that have good experience in individual tax, it's challenging. It may take a lot of time and it's gonna be more expensive, right? Here are 3 different profiles for you to have an idea of the type of candidate that we can bring and how their CV may be. So, for example, the first one is a bookkeeper from Peru, right? Entry level, bachelor degree, just coming out from university, have a bit of experience perhaps in QuickBooks, and they have experience in bookkeeping, account reconciliation, account receivable, perhaps 1 year of experience, right? This is a good profile for an entry-level position. I need bookkeepers. This is a great profile for that. Then we have the typical profile of a staff accountant, someone with more experience, 3 to 4 years, with a bachelor degree in accounting, perhaps 3 to 4 years working for a Big Four or for a shared service or for a big company serving US clients. This is good. This is a good school for them, right? So they will bring a lot of experience, and they maybe have experience also as as bookkeepers also, right? And at the end, they will have experience also managing more than one accounting software. Perhaps they will have a QuickBooks for Advisor, Xero, whatever. These are real profiles that are working for our clients. The names are fake, though, obviously. And finally, like the typical accounting manager, plus 7 years of experience, CPA of their local country, a master's in accounting, more than 5 years working in a Big Four, client management experience, team leadership experience. So these are good things when we want someone to lead a team, right? And these are profiles that we can deliver, that our type of companies can deliver, right? So this is very important because generally the preconcept is, hey, I can go and outsource only junior talent. No, there are great leaders abroad, and they are great leaders at half the price of a US equivalent. So you can find someone with like double better English than mine, or almost native with almost no accent, to work for you and to be client facing at half the cost. This is a great deal. And people that want to work and they are eager to work and they are not worried about putting the hours because they want the US salary, they want the US experience. That's very important for people abroad. So you have motivated people also. Then how much can it cost this, right? So I'm going to be completely honest here and completely transparent. And I'm going to speak about accounting, right? So an accountant, not a bookkeeper and not a tax specialist. But prices are pretty similar. Could be plus minus 10%, right? So what we can expect of an entry level up to 2 years, this can start at 12,000 per year, right? So 1,000 per month. That's more or less how much this can cost. Let's say you add the fees of the company, this can end up in, I don't know, 1,500 per year, right? Then a semi-senior, like 2 to 5 years of experience, this can go to 24, starts at 24,000. So someone with like the middle, the guy with 4 years of experience that we were seeing before, like we are speaking about someone like that. And then we can go to managers, right? At the end, like a manager with plus 10 years of experience with client-facing, experience managing a team for 62,000 or more or less, 60, 70,000. So what, in my experience, these are competitive salaries for the South American market or the Philippines market or the Indian market. They are super competitive. And as you can see, this could be half of a US equivalent, right? Because we are speaking of someone with a bachelor degree, a university degree, a career in a Big Four. So imagine hiring someone with more than 10 years in EY for 62,000. That's crazy. So let's speak about a bit of the cost models, what you can see out there. So I have separated this in four areas. So before hiring, the setup fee, the recruiting fee, and the buyout. So generally, you can find two types of things before hiring. So when you engage with one of these companies, so there is no preview cost, or they will charge you a searching fee. This is pretty basic. Then some companies have a setup fee. So perhaps they don't charge you for the search period, but once you decide to hire, they will tell you, hey, this is a setup fee for all the search or whatever. It's like a success fee in a way. Then the recurring fee. So here we have different models. Either we have a fee based on salary, a percentage, both of it, like with a minimum, or like a fix. For example, let's say the salary plus 500, right? So I think that's fair. And then the buyout, right? This is a very important this is a very important point, because when we hire someone and that is good, perhaps we want to hire them under our payroll after 3 years because we want them to keep growing in our company. They are great, they're amazing. So this is a good point, understanding how much the buyout costs. Generally, a good average is like 20-30% of a year's salary of the candidate, right? And one point, very important point here, is transparency is not the market average here. So lots of these companies are not going to be that much transparent in terms of how much the candidate is getting, how much is the buyout fee. So these are things that I encourage you to ask in the meetings that you have with these outsourcing companies, right? Try to find people that are super transparent with you, but also with the candidate. But don't forget that these are people that are going to be working for you. So next steps. What if you want to go out there and hire international talent, right? So what do you need to do before? These are some recommendations that I see that are good practices before going out there and outsourcing. So the first thing is, think about the profile. You have no idea how many people come to a first meeting with our company and they don't have clear what they want. They tell you, hey, I want a bookkeeper. But when you dive what that position is, perhaps it's not that much a bookkeeper. So it's very important for you to have at least your ideas of what you want and what do you expect from that position. And generally, there are different types of companies, but for example, at Vinti, we can help you put together a job description for that. Actually, we will do it for you. Then, when we are dealing with junior positions, it's very important to have like SOPs in place, right? This is standard operation procedures. This is very important because junior talent working remotely, it's what we have seen our experience is when the company is organized and they know what to do, they perform it perfect. But when they don't have a clarity on what they have to do, that's where problem starts, right? So this is very important. Then decide the responsibility level. Are these people going to be client facing? Are they going to manage a team? They are going to process they are going to be data entry. They are going to add some type of value. They are going to make recommendations from clients. These are all things that are super important because while deciding this may lead to, hey, I need someone in South America or in India or in the Philippines, or I need a niche company or a general company, right? These are things that are important to understand on ourselves so we can go and decide which type of vendor I need. Like client facing, very important. If I need someone client facing, they cannot be working at night, or they can, I don't know. The challenge of that someone client facing working at night is generally our experience is that people working at night last less than people working the same time zone, because obviously if you work 1 year at night, you start like I don't know, you want to change, perhaps you want to work in the normal hours of your country. Then prepare the interview process, like have a specific process to interview the candidates, like know what you are going to ask, know what you are going to evaluate. I'm going to do an Excel test. I want to evaluate their experience of QuickBooks. There are tests out there, right? So you can either do your own research or ask the outsourcing company to help you build this, right? So at Vinti, for example, we have our clients. Hey, you want to evaluate QuickBooks? We recommend this tool, or we can evaluate them ourselves with this test, or the same with Excel. For example, I have a client right now that they are asking me how I can evaluate someone that needs to understand perfectly inventory management, and also I want to test their skills in Excel. So we put together a test, we send them to the client, and the client told me, hey, I love it. Let's test them on this, and we send the test. And finally. Defining if a test skill is needed is what I was talking about. So now I want to talk about some recommendations when engaging with a company like ours, right? So the first thing is security measures. This is something that everybody asks, and it's very important. And when I mean security measures, it's not only like not only like what I need in terms of software security and all of that, but it's also like, hey, are these candidates pre-vetted? Have they done a background check? Have you done like reference calls? Asking all those things, like generally companies like ours offer these type of things. But if you don't mention it, they won't do it because obviously the process is more lean, right? At Vint is a standard. We do this for all our candidates, but ask for your vendors to do like a background check and to send you like the criminal check of this person, the credit check. Ask like 2 or 3 references from previous jobs. That's very important, and that talks a lot about of the candidate. Then materials and equipment. So ask if the material and equipment are covered. I have a client the other day that they told me, no, I was working with another vendor. We were hiring someone. We were super happy. That person was going to start, and the first day, that person didn't have a computer. They never imagined that the vendor was not providing that equipment, right? So make sure how that works. Ask those questions. Then ask for the termination and pre-notice clause. Like how much time, because several companies have this. Like you have no idea the crazy things that you can find out there, right? Like we know that of a company that they charge you 3 months in advance. Like where on earth you see that if you want to hire someone on your own, a candidate telling you, yes, I'm going to work for you, but pay me 6 months in advance. Then we can keep talking. It's crazy. I mean, so like make sure you're working with people that are logical in a way, right? Because that speaks a lot of the kind of people that they're going to find. Well, the fee structure, what I was mentioning, like how much is going to the candidate. This is very important. Again, like is the person that is going to be working for me is going to be earning okay, is going to have a competitive salary. And this is important for 2 main reasons. The first one is generally people want for their team to be well paid. And secondly, people that are well paid, they churn less. So turnover reduces. And we know that high turnover is a headache at the end. So make sure that your people is being well paid and make sure that it's transparent, how much they are taking, how much the company is taking. We see out there are companies that are taking like 60, 70% of what you are paying. That's crazy, right? Ask for what I mentioned before, the buyout clause. This is very important, and not everyone asks for this. As I already mentioned it, I'm not going to mention it again, but ask for the buyout clause. Something which is very important also is how conflicts are going to be solved. What if the person is not working? What if they are not coming? They are great, they are good, but they are not performing as expected, right? So how we will deal with these kind of things? Well, the salaries are competitive or not, and then finally, how we are going to deal with benefits, bonuses, raises, right? I'm going to pay, if I want to pay a bonus, an end of year bonus, how much the company is going to charge me? Is this going 100% for the candidate, or you are going to take a part? So things that are important to ask, right? Because then you will sign a contract and you will want to pay a bonus in year 2, and you will see that your vendor is taking like 30% of your talent bonus, right? And finally, and this is very important, ask for client referrals. For me, the best measure to understand if a company is legit and everything is okay is how their clients speak about them. So ask them to speak with some clients. Ask them for 3 or 4 clients and reach out to them. This is super helpful because that's where you will understand like if they are a good company or not, if their service level is good or not, right? So this is important. And finally, some fears and misconceptions. I'm going to try to go fast because this is a bit repetitive and I want to answer some questions. So then communications barrier. So this is a myth. At the end, people, if you make your due diligence, if you make your interview process, you will realize if they can speak English or not, if they can write or not. And if they can speak English, the communication barrier is not going to be there, right? But this is important. Make your due diligence, because if there are people that are out there that they won't want you to interview the candidates, and because you want to solve things quickly, you will accept some terms that are not beneficial. So make your due diligence. Then time zone differences. Again, depending on your needs. This could be even time zone difference plus 12 hours could be an advantage. If that's what you need, could be an amazing advantage. High turnover rates. This is a myth. like what we see, or at least in our numbers and the statistics that we see, is that turnover is higher for local employees than for remote international employees. And the main reason of this is because generally people working internationally, they are earning US dollar salary, which is better than the market salary. And that's the main reason for it. Other reasons that help to reduce turnover is people being treated well. So what we see several times is that international employees are not treated the same as the local employees. When things like this happen, turnover can be a problem. So I encourage you to see how we manage these things. Security protection depends a lot on the process of the vendor. Generally, this is not there is no more challenge than a local remote employee. It's the same. The challenge perhaps is the remote, but does not have more risk someone that is in Argentina or in the Philippines or India than someone that is in another part of the US. Less control, the same example as before. Hidden costs. This can happen, but with this webinar and with the guide that I just gave you, this cannot. So generally, if you do your due diligence, if you understand which are the general costs and the contract, there shouldn't be a hidden cost. And our experience is that generally, outsourcing companies, they don't do this kind of practices. Perhaps they are not transparent in terms of the invoice. They will send you like a final cost and that's it, but they won't charge you more than what they said. Then management issues, international payroll, and company track record. So management issues, we don't see a difference here. In terms of international payroll, this can be a challenge depending on the company. What we encourage is to validate if the international vendor has a US entity. That's the average practice of most international vendors. So generally, you will be paying to a US entity. You won't have to pay to an Argentinian company in Argentinian pesos or whatever. You will have to pay to the US entity, and that's it. And you pay in US dollars, and then they will manage all the other things, right? And then company track record, validate with referral calls. That's something I will encourage you always to do. Referral calls, always. And that's it. Finally, thank you everyone for coming. I hope this was useful. And then for people that have attended here, there is a 40% off for the first 3 months in our fees. So if you are interested, just reach out and mention that you were a part of this webinar, and we'll be happy to apply the discount. I have some questions here. I'm going to read the first one, and I think I'm going to read two because we don't have too much time. Benjamin is asking if I can go in more detail about here it is. So if I can go more detail on South America versus the Philippines in terms of language skills. They are native English speaking, are often trained in US GAAP. Usually in South America, different because time zone and because the employees can be more client-facing or more senior engineer. So yes, this in terms of language, the quality of language in South America in terms of English is quite high. Actually, it's higher than in India. Obviously, the Philippines is native in English, but Indians are also native in English in some parts of India. But that does not mean that they speak like without accent or American English. In South America, schools are in American English, right? So every people that is training that is training in American English. And so generally, accent is more similar, not mine, because mine is super Latin, but here, like people that read good, that speak good English, they have a very good accent. And then in terms of client-facing or more senior roles, what we see is that in South America, it's easier to find this type of roles, mainly because what I mentioned before, like I have people in my same time working day, and they can work directly with clients. When I have people in Philippines or India working 9 shifts because they need to be aligned with my clients, they could be great, but in the long term, what we see is that turnover is higher. So for the long-term strategy, what we recommend, if you want to hire senior level or client-facing talent or like people that manage in a team, it's easier to be aligned in the same time zone, right? Cam is asking if there are individuals assigned to the different companies dedicated, or they are working with different clients. So this depends on the type of contract. If you hire someone full-time, and depending on the company, and this is why I'm being encouraging you to be like really thorough in the interview process with the vendor, because there are vendors that they allocate 2 full-time employees to the same candidates, right? So what I suggest is to do the due diligence here, but generally people that allocate full-time employees, they work 100% with one company. But I would ask that to be in the contract. When they are part-time, they for sure are going to be working for 2 companies. And finally, if we have a model for smaller teams versus larger teams, obviously we work a lot with for small and medium companies where we have a specific plan, because perhaps a small company is going to hire 1 or 2 employees, but then we have other companies that they want to build a whole team with an office in, I don't know, Buenos Aires or Bogota or some city like that. We will help you with everything. Our idea is for you not to think about anything extra than just working with your talent. And obviously the pricing with big scale teams would be a bit different, and we can discuss everything, right? So I think that's all. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and I hope to hear from you. And I'm Joel, or the Earmarks team. I'm giving you back the word. That's it, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Augustine, for that wonderful webinar. And thank you to all of our live attendees and questions you guys brought. And with that, I will show you how to earn CPE.
Today's event has ended. To earn CPE, go to earmark.app or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in or create your free account. Search for the course by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this event. It takes a few days to make the course, so if you're attending this event live, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the course is available. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE, then tap the button to email yourself a certificate. Stay tuned for more events from Earmark. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.